Hello and welcome to Mississippi Insight. I'm Byron Brown. Thank you for joining us. Our focus on this Sunday, February 28th, remains the water crisis that has paralyzed much of the city of Jackson. Most of the city's 161,000 residents have to boil their tap water before drinking it or use bottled water. This, as the Public Works Department has been scrambling to fix more than 24 water main breaks across the city. Most of Jackson retained power during this month's severe winter storms, but it couldn't maintain water pressure through the pipes. So, since Tuesday, the 16th, the city's people and businesses have gone without dependable water service. Many we spoke with are fed up, not only by the slow pace of recovery, but the level of political recriminations and finger-pointing at city and state levels.
This is taking more than I can even bear to think of. So it's been out for a week, and I really need some help. We're having difficulty bathing.
Don't just take care of one part of Jackson. Take care of us all. The bickering between governors, mayors, city council needs to stop. Do what we vote you in for.
We need some water. We need our ditches with the sewage. Just come over here and look. Anybody, even the governor, anybody, it don't matter. All this bickering going back and forth, we don't need that. We need some help.
Well, our first guest has heard these complaints and many more over the last 2 weeks. Chokwe Antar Lumumba is in his fourth year of his tenure as mayor of Jackson, and he's facing what may be the biggest crisis of his career. Mayor Lumumba, thank you very much for joining us here on Mississippi Insight.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to sharing with you and sharing with our residents where we stand and what we're doing on their behalf.
You've been hearing those complaints and those frustrations. What was your contingency plan, knowing that the water system is vulnerable when there is severe weather and very cold weather?
Well, we always prepare to the best of our ability as we experience those conditions, or we know that we're anticipating those conditions. But no matter how much we prepare, there are just some things that we don't have the means to prepare around. We don't have the means to prepare a $100 million new system that can deal with these challenges. It is the preparation in that regard should have taken place over the last 50 years. And so what you have are legacy cities that confront these challenges that are not prepared to deal with the more extreme weather conditions that we face. We have colder winters, hotter summers, and a wetter rainy season than we have ever experienced in our history, and the data expresses that. And so we have to prepare for these new challenges as they are becoming a part of our new reality. And so, I understand residents' frustration. I sympathize with residents' frustration. I too have experienced a lack of water in my home. And so I know what it means to not have the basic necessities that it takes to care for yourself, to take the medications that you need, all of those things that our residents are concerned with. And while that is a frustration, and I am committed to doing every single thing that we can, there are some things that I simply cannot correct in an instance. And so I can't correct the fact that our water system pushes water from plants that are on one side of town, and it means that it becomes more difficult for the people who live the furthest away. There isn't a valve that you pull that says, this is the Eastover valve, and this is the South Jackson valve, and this is the Bel Air valve. We have one water system in which the water is distributed throughout the system, and it fills tanks in the way in which it was designed and laid out years and many, many years ago. And so that's what we have to utilize at this time. And it will require an increased investment to protect our infrastructure, to repair and build a stronger infrastructure. But that cost and that ability to do that really will require the acknowledgement and the commitment from resources far higher than the city of Jackson. The city of Jackson doesn't have a scintilla of the amount of money that it would require to make such a major investment for our infrastructure. We need the state to understand that supporting the city of Jackson's infrastructure is more than just a just act for the residents of Jackson who deserve it. It's a necessary act for the state of Mississippi. Our economy as a state is affected when we have these things taking place in the city of Jackson. We need the federal government to understand that we live in legacy cities. We live in communities where there is an aging infrastructure. And the more that we don't invest in how we protect those people, then we will see instances like this happen more frequently. And the quality of life and the things we profess to be as a nation become topics of just discussion and debate.
When we talk about preparation, what we're hearing from residents is that they're frustrated with the response. They know that there's a $2 billion problem that you're dealing with that may not be your fault because it's been there a long time, but it's how the response to it, that a lot of residents feel that there wasn't adequate response to it, that there weren't trucks already available. There wasn't enough water already set aside when this crisis happened, knowing that there would probably be a crisis. What do you say to the residents that you didn't have enough water set aside in various parts of the city when this first happened?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, every time we have cold weather, the water doesn't go out. So we didn't know that we would experience a circumstance where the water would go out everywhere. Secondly, as we were trying to address and get tanks from places, we couldn't do so because the roads were closed. The roads were frozen, not just in Jackson, not just in Mississippi, but in the southern region, there were no trucks that could get out. And so we found the tanks that were available to us. And the only thing that was available to us were the two that we were able to secure. And so that's what we attempted to do, is to utilize what was in our capacity, what was in our wheelhouse and what was available to us. And so, yes, we tried to anticipate every possible angle in this, but weather conditions are just that. They are conditions which can change on you. We didn't know that we would experience two simultaneous storms that would lead us in a prolonged period in which the ice stayed on the ground longer, making it impossible and the duration of the challenge that we see extended and protracted in the way that it's protracted. And so, yes, we prepare in every way, but there are some things that simply we don't have the capacity or it's not in our wheelhouse to deal with.
We'll have more with Mayor Lumumba after a short break, and later we'll talk with Mississippi Today's Bobby Harrison about a sweeping tax reform measure moving through the legislature. It's Mississippi Insight on 12 News. Last Tuesday, you held a news conference to brief people on the water crisis. You spent part of that talking about your attempts to reach Governor Tate Reeves for state support. That same day, Governor Reeves took questions about Jackson's water woes. Let's hear just a couple of clips from those two briefings.
I have chronicled my efforts over time to reach the governor. And so we don't want to go down that road, and I don't really want to make it a fight because we need the governor, right?
Many of these challenges in their water system were born over literally 30, 40, 50 years of negligence and ignoring the challenges of the pipes and the system. And so that 50 years of deferred maintenance is not something we're going to fix in the next 6 to 8 hours.
Let's talk about those comments. Are you satisfied now with the governor's response to this crisis?
I will say that I appreciate the fact that the governor and I have been able to establish communication, and he's offered the tanks that are helpful to our community, and we've been utilizing them. So we're grateful for that resource. I think that our work has to go far beyond this moment to continue to build the solutions that our residents need on a continuous basis. When a crisis happens like this, it is important that we just, lock arms and identify how do we create relief as soon as possible. And so we're grateful for those tanks. We will continue to use them until we have restoration of water throughout the city. And so I do agree that this is an investment that needed to be made for many, many years. Why it wasn't happening or why it didn't take place, I can't say. That's what I call BMT, before my time. I don't know what the competing interests were, but whatever was the circumstance then, we know where we stand now, and we know that we need more financial resources to support this valuable and necessary resource or utility that is provided to our residents.
How would you describe your relationship with the governor? Do you believe you have a pretty good relationship with the governor?
We don't have an antagonistic relationship. I think it's a relationship that we can build even stronger, understanding that the city of Jackson is vital to the state of Mississippi. And so what I would ask is that, we have more conversation. I know that the governor's role and his responsibility expands beyond the city of Jackson. I understand that when people are suffering, they want help now, and they may not understand the other competing interests that you have. But the city of Jackson is not only a place that the residents of the city enjoy, it is a place that the state depends on, and from being the seat of government to being the capital of healthcare. And so we have to make certain to be the economic engine for the state of Mississippi. And so we have to really, really, truly understand the value of Jackson, the importance of Jackson. And I think that those two things, if we understand those things, then we understand the necessity for ongoing communication. And so I don't have any problem working with anyone.
The Environmental Protection Agency continues to classify the city of Jackson as a serious violator of the U.S. Safer Water Act. That's been the case since the third quarter of 2018. Why should Jacksonians have any faith in this water system, even when the main breaks have been repaired?
Well, I think that they should know the complete story. They should know the investment that is taking place. They should know that the city of Jackson has never had a quality result or a test that demonstrated that our water quality was poor. I think that they need to understand that what leads to that is that it's an antiquated system. And so what they want to do is upgrade the city of Jackson's water treatment facility for things like feed systems that are automated instead of the type that we were built for, which was a manual feed process. And so those are the things that have dinged the city of Jackson over time. And so when you ask what investments we've been making, those are the investments that that had to take priority because we had to become more compliant with the requirements that the federal government was issuing and that the Department of Environmental Quality are issuing for Jackson to do. And so when those things are taking place so that we can make sure that on a day-to-day basis, the system operates as it should, the system has the reliability that it should, then it makes it difficult, to see the investment of a complete shelter that takes over the entire facility or to be able to, relay the pipe all across the city. Those things are expensive. Those things are difficult for any one city to deal with all at once. And so we address these concerns, we address these issues with the resources we have and on a timeline that is consistent and commensurate with those resources.
The city has been losing its tax base, and why should people stay in Jackson if they cannot trust that the city can provide essential services such as drinking water?
I think that people should see the investment that the city is making. I think that people should see that as it pertains to our infrastructure, we've had a number of challenges over years and we've dealt with those. I think they should see a city that is repairing its financial woes. One of the ways that you address and tackle infrastructure is to have a financially capable and sustainable city. You should see a city that has repaired not only its general fund, but has secured the means to make the repairs to its enterprise fund, which leads to those things being fixed. You should see a city whose bond rating has increased that will make it capable, will make it possible for us to make these huge investments as resources come to bear. You should see a city that if you just listen to the companies that evaluate us, have just spoke glowingly of the city of Jackson in terms of the page that we've turned and the disciplined approach we've taken to tackle these issues. But if the expectation is that the city of Jackson will overnight turn from a city which is challenged to a city that walks fully in the place that we know we're ultimately going, we have to be able to manage those expectations in a way that is realistic and consistent with the processes and the time that it will require in order for us to handle all of the things that we need to handle.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back. House Bill 1439 paves the way for the eventual elimination of the state income tax and a 50% cut in our high grocery taxes. But it raises sales and user taxes on a host of other items and services. It passed the House on a bipartisan vote and moves next to the state Senate. Joining us now to talk about this big initiative and its chances for surviving Senate and gubernatorial scrutiny is Bobby Harrison. Bobby is senior Capitol reporter for our reporting partners at MississippiToday.com. He's been watching HB 1439 very closely. And Bobby, welcome back to Mississippi Insight.
Hey, how you doing, Byron?
Not too bad. Well, Bobby, just run us through the basics of this bill.
Well, you covered it pretty well. Immediately, starting with a 2022 tax year, it would exempt the first $50,000 of income for an individual and first $100,000 for a married couple. And over a 10-year period, it would completely reduce eliminate the income tax. So that means that if you're a school teacher, for instance, and you're making $45,000 a year, you would not be paying any income tax beginning with the 2022 tax year. And as you said, it also cuts the sales tax on food. We have the highest state-imposed sales tax on food in the nation. It cuts that in half over a 5-year period. And then it raises the sales tax on other items by 2.5%. So for most items, that'd be a 9.5% sales tax. And then for some items like manufacturing equipment, airplanes, cars that are taxed at a lower rate, it would also go up 2.5%. So say right now, I think the tax on airplanes might be 2%, so it'd go up to 4.5%. So before you buy your next airplane buyer, you need to keep that in mind.
Bobby, eliminating the income tax was a proposal, the Governor Tate Reeves' executive budget recommendation, but it's not exactly the approach Reeves himself preferred. What was he looking for?
Yeah, that's right. Governor Reeves is not interested in raising any taxes. He just wanted to phase out the personal income tax over a, say, 10-year period. But he did not want to raise the sales tax to do the other things that's in the House bill. He has spoken against that. So if it gets to his desk, it's interesting to see what he will be interested to see what he does with the bill. Whether he signs a bill that eliminates the income tax, but increases the sales tax, or whether he vetoes that bill. That'll be fascinating to watch what he does with that bill. Should it reach his desk? But of course, before it gets to his desk, it's got to get through the Senate.
And as it goes to the Senate, how do you expect that to look as it hits to the Senate? What changes do you expect to come out of the Senate?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this is such a sweeping bill. It completely rewrites the state's tax structure. It's a far-reaching bill. So whether the Senate's going to take it up at this point is anybody's guess. There's some speculation that the Senate will not take it up, because what's being missed in this whole thing is, we talked about the increases in the sales tax, but a lot of those increases would be on special interests, like on manufacturers for the equipment they buy, or for, as I mentioned, airplanes. Those are raising the taxes and things like that is going to have a lot of opposition from special interest groups in the Capitol. So while the bill passed this House by a comfortable margin earlier this or last week, it's going to be difficult to get that same proposal through the Senate.
Talk about how House Speaker Philip Gunn managed to take a lead on tax reform.
Well, he has for a number of years been supportive of phasing out the income tax and placing taxes in Mississippi on what he calls consumption, on retail items that you buy, and excise taxes. He wanted to tax those things and eliminate the income tax. He's been consistent in that philosophy for a number of years, and that's what this bill does. It would eliminate all the taxes on income and put all the taxes on consumption. He's tried this before in various times, but never in such a far-reaching manner. And some people complain. Of course, this bill was not even introduced, Byron, until a Monday afternoon. It was passed out of committee late on a Monday afternoon. It was passed on the House floor 24 hours later. So some people have complained that there was not enough study done on this bill. The Speaker and his supporters, Trey Lamar, House Ways and Means Chair, and others who were the sponsors of the bill, said they've been working on it behind the scenes for a number of years, and that it shouldn't be a surprise that it passed.
Well, when this bill passed the House with a fair bit of bipartisan support, what did it take to get some of those House Democrats on board?
Well, I think there's been for a number of years, there's been efforts by Democrats in particular to eliminate or at least to cut to cut in half or cut by some extent the tax on food. Mississippi is a poor state in the nation, and yet we have the highest state-imposed sales tax on food. And some people, some people that say that's the most regressive tax that there is, to tax food that everybody has to have. So in a lot of states, there's no tax on food, and under this bill, that it would go from 7% to 3.5% over a period of years. So that was appealing to many Democrats, but by the same token, many Democrats feared that raising the sales tax on other items from 7% to 9.5% still is going to hurt poor people.
Do we have any solid independent analysis of how shifting the tax system around will ultimately impact Mississippi taxpayers?
To me, that's such an important question. How is this going to affect, say, somebody who's making $30,000 a year? So if you're making $30,000 a year in Mississippi and you have 2 or 3 kids, realistically not paying much in income tax already. So the question is, from my perspective, will the reduction in sales tax on food offset the increase for those poor people, offset the increase of the sales tax on other items?
Bobby Harrison, Mississippi Today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll be right back. Big thanks to Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba of Jackson and Mississippi Today's Bobby Harrison for joining us this week. We'll be back again next weekend with more of the political and current affairs coverage that you demand. I'm Byron Brown. From all of us here at 12 News, make it a great weekend.